Leavitt got destroyed on live TV, and not by accident. Reporters cornered her with sharp, relentless questions about Trump's non-stop scandals, and she was left scrambling for excuses. Already, the first clip had a weird taste to it. Like Karoline Leavitt was auditioning for a fitness infomercial while quietly ignoring the fact that Trump's diet consists of Diet Coke and revenge. Let's go.
Follow up on former President Biden. White House doctors may have missed the early stages of his prostate cancer. So, is President Trump worried about the quality of care that presidents get here?
Not as far as President Trump is concerned. The White House physician we have here is phenomenal, and the team of physicians that take care of the president, particularly at Walter Reed Medical Center, are great. The president had his physical recently, as you know. He had perfect results. He's in very good shape. I think those of you who traveled to the Middle East with us last week can attest to the president's endurance. And by the way, I will add, we returned home from a very long and tiring trip last week, and on Saturday, where was the president? In the Oval Office, working all day. He doesn't stop, he doesn't quit, he's in great health, and he trusts his physicians.
Ah yes, the classic Trump is a machine speech. You'd think they were talking about a Peloton instructor, not a man who gets winded walking to a golf cart. According to Trump's spokesperson / professional flatterer Karoline Leavitt, he's basically immortal. Just got back from the Middle East and went straight to the Oval Office. Sure. And I'm the Pope. I mean, is this a medical update or a trailer for the next Marvel movie? He doesn't stop, he doesn't quit, he's in great health. Yeah, if your definition of great health includes cheeseburgers for breakfast and rage posting on Truth Social at 3 a.m., the real kicker? She's saying all this while news breaks that Biden was diagnosed with early stage prostate cancer. So while Joe's quietly dealing with a very real medical condition, the Trump camp is out here doing PR gymnastics to convince us Donald's blood is made of Red Bull and Big Macs. And then, oh, you're gonna love this, people were giving Trump a standing ovation online for a Truth Social post that he probably didn't even write. A basic get well soon note to Biden, and suddenly he's a humanitarian now. Please. The bar for Trump is so low it's 6 feet under. She says he trusts his doctors. The only physician Trump listens to is the guy who tells him Diet Coke is a vitamin. Come on. But now take a look at her next answer.
I agree with Republicans behind this bill that Medicaid work requirements should be implemented as soon as 2026.
So the president wants to preserve and protect Medicaid for Americans who this program was intended for. The most vulnerable in our society, pregnant women, low-income families, seniors, those who truly need these benefits. And it should be going to people who physically cannot work. We want to see able-bodied Americans at least working 20 hours per week, whether that's part-time or full-time, whether that's even looking for work or volunteering for 20 hours a week if they are receiving Medicaid. These are common sense.
Here it is, the GOP's greatest magic trick, cutting Medicaid while pretending they're saving it. Karoline is saying with a straight face that Trump and the Republicans want to protect Medicaid by kicking people off Medicaid. Classic. She lists pregnant women, seniors, the most vulnerable, like it's a charity auction. But make no mistake, the moment those people stop fitting the Republican narrative of deserving poor, they're tossed off the bus faster than Trump dodging a subpoena. An able-bodied American should work 20 hours a week, sweetie. Donald Trump has never worked 20 hours in a month. The man gets winded signing checks. He works harder avoiding taxes than he does at any actual job. What they're really saying is, if you're not rich, tough luck. Because when it comes down to it, this isn't about accountability. It's about protecting Trump's billionaire besties while pretending the rest of us are the freeloaders. And speaking of protecting besties, you'll want to stick around for what comes next. It involves Trump, Russia, and a response from Karoline that's so tone-deaf it could double as a Mar-a-Lago anthem.
Two more things. Putin ghosted everybody at these peace talks last week. As President Trump phones him today to try to figure out an end to the Ukraine war, does he think that Putin is the good guy or the bad guy?
I'll let the president speak on that conversation later. He's made his feelings about both sides of this war quite clear throughout it. He wants to see it end.
Wait, hold on. So Trump phones Putin and we're still doing this both sides nonsense? After 2 years of Russia bombing schools and hospitals, Trump still won't say if Putin is the bad guy. My God. It's like asking a firefighter whether fire is the problem or just one perspective in a heated situation. Karoline's response basically translates to, Trump will let you know if he's team democracy or team dictator at a later date. Stay tuned. This isn't diplomacy, it's delusion. The US isn't at a middle school debate tournament. Ukraine is our ally. Putin is an authoritarian war criminal, not a moody ex needing closure. But sure, Trump's just trying to end the war, like a landlord who sets fire to a building and then shows up with a water bottle asking for praise. But now, take a look at this.
On the gift plane from Qatar, 3 things. Is there a timeline for the U.S. receiving that plane? Do you know how long it will take to retrofit the plane to presidential standards? And thirdly, has the intelligence community, security folks, have they weighed in on whether that plane can actually be secured to presidential standards?
I'm glad you brought up this question because I was watching the American press spew a lot of misinformation about the plane donation last week when we were abroad. Let's be very clear. The government of Qatar, the Qatari family, has offered to donate this plane to the United States Air Force, where that donation will be accepted according to all legal and ethical obligations. It will be retrofitted to the highest of standards by the Department of Defense and the United States Air Force. This plane is not a personal donation or a gift to the President of the United States. And everyone who wrote that last week should go and correct their stories, because this is a donation to our country and to the United States Air Force. As for a timeline, because it is the United States Air Force that is accepting the plane, I would defer you to them for specifics, because the President, frankly, has nothing to do with it. It's the Air Force's project to take on.
And now we enter gift plane denial mode. Buckle up. Karoline goes full DEFCON 1 because people notice that a luxury jet from Qatar is magically heading Trump's way, and somehow it's not a gift? No, it's a donation to the US Air Force. And I guess Mar-a-Lago is just a public pool. Let's break this down. Qatar offers a private jet. The government spends millions retrofitting it. After Trump leaves office, boom, it becomes part of his presidential library. Spoiler alert, that library is going to be one long wing of how to monetize the presidency. And the plane? It's not even new. It's already been flying, but once it's retired, it gets handed to Trump like a used car from a shady uncle, except this car costs $1 billion in upgrades. All on your dime. Karoline insists the press should correct their stories. Okay, here's the correction. It's not a gift to Trump. It's a pre-bribe, a slow-cooked favor, a wink-wink aircraft wrapped in bureaucracy. And she's mad we noticed, because the truth is the last thing she or Trump wants flying around. Next, Karoline goes head-to-head with Walmart. Yes, Walmart, and somehow manages to make that a disaster too.
President Trump and his top economic aides have repeatedly said that Americans will not pay the cost of tariffs. In fact, last week Lutnick said people have to drop the, quote, silly arguments that consumers would pay the cost. But over the weekend, as you know, the president posted that Walmart should eat the tariffs and not charge the value customer anything. I'll be watching, and so will your customers. So does he acknowledge that if companies don't absorb the full cost, Americans will have to pay?
Well, first of all, the CEO of Walmart made those comments about the tariffs on an earnings call where CEOs, I believe, are legally obligated to give the most dire warnings and forecasts to their investors and stakeholders. The reality is the president has always maintained Chinese producers will be absorbing the cost of these tariffs. And that is why China was so quick to hustle to the negotiating table with the United States of America. They need our markets, they need our consumers. And I would again point you to the inflation report that came out last week showing that inflation is declining in large part because energy prices are dropping across the board in this country because of the president's robust energy agenda that he has taken since January 20th. So the president is committed to ensuring that prices remain low for American consumers, and he maintains the position that foreign countries will absorb these tariffs.
What does he mean by "I'll be watching" to Walmart?
He'll be watching, seeing what they're doing. Jennifer.
Okay, so now we're supposed to believe that Walmart, a company with an entire aisle dedicated to 97-cent t-shirts, should just eat the cost of Trump's trade war like it's an expired Hot Pocket? Trump, who has the economic insight of a broken vending machine, says Walmart should just suck it up and not raise prices. And if they don't, he'll be watching. Oh, scary. And Karoline's defense, priceless. She claims the Walmart CEO only said tariffs hurt consumers because Get this, he was legally obligated to tell the truth. That's not even spin, that's reverse reality. Like, sure, he admitted it was bad for Americans, but only because the law made him say that. Otherwise, he'd totally lie for Trump. And somehow this is supposed to prove tariffs are working? No. What it proves is that we're watching a slow motion disaster sponsored by MAGA merch and Chinese manufacturing. She points to falling energy prices like that erases the fact that tariffs are taxes. Literal taxes that land squarely on the people shopping for groceries, not yacht owners in Mar-a-Lago. And let's not forget Trump's favorite new economic strategy. If reality doesn't cooperate, blame a CEO and tweet threats. What does "I'll be watching" even mean coming from Trump? Is he lurking in the frozen food aisle, peering out from behind a pallet of Mountain Dew? This whole thing is just another page in the MAGA manual of magical thinking trademark, where up is down, billionaires are victims, and Walmart somehow becomes the villain. And it only gets worse, because someone else had the nerve to speak up, and that someone is AOC. Let's just say she didn't come to play.
We've been here since 2 o'clock yesterday, straight. No breaks, discussing everything from the energy provisions that are being gutted to, most importantly, healthcare that is on the chopping block. And for a lot of this discussion in the last almost 24 hours, some of the justification for these cuts have been about populations and people who are undeserving of Medicaid and healthcare, who are not worthy of it, who are fraudulent, etc. You know, the list goes on. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's about who is not deserving of care. And I would like my colleagues to sit with the feeling of having this legislation come before us and imagine what it feels like as a woman to have health care and clinics that are dedicated to the full spectrum of women's care be on the chopping block, because the implication is that we are undeserving. The implication here is that Planned Parenthood is being defunded because women are undeserving of the full spectrum of care that can save their life.
And just when you thought the MAGA circus couldn't get more dystopian, they'd come for healthcare. AOC stepped up after nearly 24 hours of nonstop debate to call out the real agenda behind these brutal Medicaid cuts. And it's not about budgets, it's not about fraud, it's about live and death. Because if you're poor, if you're a woman, if you depend on Planned Parenthood for more than just a checkup, you might be on the chopping block. Republicans aren't slashing costs. They're drawing battle lines, deciding who gets care and who might get left behind. And AOC doesn't just tear into the policy, she exposes the cruel mindset behind it, that some just aren't worth the cost. Her voice cracks, her passion cuts through, and what she says next, you need to hear it, because the last part of her speech is coming up now.
Because as the gentlelady from Virginia noted, in states that have banned, outlawed, restricted, defunded abortion services and care, women die at much higher rates. It kills women. It kills women to defund care, reproductive care. It kills women to restrict it, to ban it, to defund it. And this legislation will kill women. That is not a hyperbole.
AOC doesn't mince words here, because the stakes are literal life and death. As she points out, in states where reproductive care has been banned, defunded, or choked off by right-wing legislation, the data is crystal clear. Women die. This isn't political theater, it's not hyperbole, it's reality. When you take away access to clinics, when you shut down options for safe legal reproductive care, when you force pregnant people to carry to term at all costs, regardless of danger or trauma, you're making a deadly choice for them. This legislation won't just cause inconvenience. It won't just create red tape. It will kill women and the people behind it. They might not even care. At least that's what it seems, because it might never been about life. It might been about control. So while Karoline Leavitt polishes press releases and Trump posts threats on Truth Social, AOC is over here telling the truth they don't want to hear. If you're fired up, you're not alone. And if you want to see what Trump pulled next, oh, it gets worse. The next video is right here. Click on it. You won't believe what happened.